One of the worst feelings in the world is knowing when you got to trim the fat. This is one of the hardest things for someone to do in their life. If you're in that relationship and you know it's doomed, you need to get out. You don't keep going, and you know inside that this shit has gone way off the rails. There's no counseling. There's no second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever chance it is, depending on the situation. You know what I mean? Someone cheated on you, that's zero strikes. Um, it's a countless list of things. So we'll start with the marriages. I was in a marriage, and it's like many, it started off wonderful. And it was, and I look back, it was a great learning experience. But the kind of man I was back then, I believed all the society things. Chase the woman at all costs. Make sure you overshow attention. And Hollywood fucks the guys up. It really does, because year after year after year, you see these movies and these shows, and they all have the same themes. Chase the girl at all costs. If she's not into you, chase her anyway. If she's living her own life and doing happy, meddle in her affairs and hide. And I mean, all the 80s movies, man, they have people stalking you at the apartment, at work, and all this. Instead of just moving on and knowing I don't need another woman in my life to complete me, they teach men, any woman that gives you any kind of attention, hang on to her like grim death. That's what they teach. This is what they show. And that's what the smart ones and the ones that have good guidance, maybe a good older brother, a father who cares and gives good advice, very few men avoid this pitfall. And to some degree, some of them, we've seen some pathetic examples. Maybe even some of us have been those pathetic examples. I mean, this is about improvement. And if you want to make major improvement in life, as much as I love joking, sometimes you got to be mean and you got to trim some fat and you got to just make some hard cuts. So that's what I'm saying today. In my marriage, when it was ending, after we moved into the house and started doing all those things, it was a typical story. We just kind of started doing this. We each had our different lives. We were very busy. We worked a lot of hours at our day job. We were both in bands. So on the weekends then, she'd be with her band, I'd be with my band. And then we'd cross at maybe 1:30 in the morning when we got home, have a little hour hanging out, and then it was it. Our romantic relationship was non-existent. We resented each other. I mean, it was over. But we still kept pretending. We still kept playing the game. You could feel it. It was almost like we were talking to each other. It's almost like we were talking to each other telepathically. Like in a bad way, like, are you like, is this a joke to you too? I remember thinking, I could almost hear saying, yeah, like, what are we doing here? But we would never discuss it. It had to come to a head, it had to come to a head where people were really starting to do things out of character until you start. And that's all that is looking back on it. I have no resent and no anger, nothing. I mean, it was what it was. These things do happen. And what do I always say? Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it can't happen. And just because it hasn't happened to you doesn't mean it can't happen to you. So I like to share these cautionary tales because if you're at least prepared in your mind, right, for some of these things, or you see some other people that have gone through this, it'll give you a little bit of courage. It'll give you a little bit of that, confidence to say, you know what, when I come home from work today, like, I'm just gonna let it out and say this isn't working. We're both miserable. I don't want any arguments or problems. Let's figure out how to undo this. And I'm gonna guarantee you, I would guess even 7, 8 out of 10 times, they're probably gonna be relieved as well. I know, because they're probably thinking the same thing. If you see the marriage isn't working or your relationship, you don't have to be married, and you're just hanging on because it's comfortable. It's what you know. And the worst thing you get in your head is, no one else will love me again. That is the biggest killer, man. That's the biggest freaking lie. Because I thought for years in my marriage, I thought I was just not attractive and not desirable. I just was a husband. And then, I just figured that's how it was, because you look around and everyone else, no one else is having sex. Everyone else is miserable. So you just figure, well, I got to just suck it up. I said, till death do us part. So I guess I got to just deal with it. Maybe it'll change. I kept thinking, maybe it'll change one day. Maybe we'll get, like, maybe we'll get back into having sex. Like, if there's no spark there and there's no chemistry, and these things grow apart sometimes, especially in marriages or any kind of long. We got married. We were already going for about 11 years. So I think that was too late. I think we missed the opportunity. And even when we did get married, we thought, man, I remember thinking like it would maybe help make it better. A little shock to the system, maybe it'll make it official and we'll feel different. And I was on my honeymoon, like day 4 in Jamaica. I'll never forget it. I had probably a $40 or $50 beautiful Cohiba cigar, and I'm in the pool. I'm walking around the pool, and I'm just thinking, I am in one of the most beautiful places on earth, and I feel miserable, and I know why, and I know I shouldn't have married, and I knew it. And then I look over and I'm like, oh man, like she's probably thinking the same thing. So everyone, we make these mistakes out of this societal pressure that makes us think you have to just push along. You got to just figure it out. You got to go to therapy, and then maybe therapy don't help. Very, very few times, and I went through it, and I've seen it. It don't help, because if you need therapy and someone else to come in and constantly remind you of things that you should be doing or you should be feeling, and you're just not feeling it, it's okay. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to be solo. But for those out there who are in pain and you're twisting every day, you're dreading coming home from work, I hope I can get through to you to give you that little spark. And you don't got to be mean about it. You don't have to come home and be nasty about it. You don't have to make a big battle. And I know it's hard because it's like admitting defeat. And it's easy to be angry when you're frustrated. I know. But if you could at least just get the words out, depending on the situation. When I came home, the day I finally got separated, I was a little blindsided. But then again, I wasn't. I mean, I knew it was coming. I didn't know it was going to come on a Tuesday at like 6:30. I worked some overtime. I got home a little later. And I remember thinking, like, it just felt weird when I came up the driveway, and it was a weird vibe. And she had her car packed. She already had a couple trips taken to her parents' house so she could move out. And I was just sitting there in my work clothes, like, it's funny. I was blown away, and I was scared, and I was hurt, and a little offended. Of course, all those things, right? But I was relieved too. I remember thinking, well, man, I'm out. But I'm like, this is weird. There's no way to salvage. I remember thinking, maybe there is a way we should salvage it. Maybe we should go to counseling. I ended up going to counseling for myself for a while, which did help, because it got me back thinking. It got me actually thinking positive for the first time, and knowing I could be okay. But it's scary at first, and you feel worthless, and you feel like you can't do it. But there's a day, I'm telling you, when you start to get the clouds, and the clouds will lift, and you'll see the error in your ways, and you will realize, holy shit, I got everything I need right in here. I got this great life. Then then for me, I started when I was officially divorced. I'm not going to go chasing another relationship. I built this guy, and it's with a pacemaker and all. And I said, man, I've come this far with 3 heart surgeries. I checked out and seen what can I do to work out. And I pretty much did everything I possibly could. If I could, there's really no limits. I was putting limits on myself for years. I mean, my valve's good. My heart's good. It's been healed. It's a chest, they go through the chest. So I can do push-ups. I don't know why for years I thought I couldn't do these things. I couldn't be in shape, But guys, listen to me out there. You, talking to you, make the jump. You will look back in a couple years, and it's going to go by like that. And I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're 40. It happened to me. I was 39. And I was devastated at first because I thought, oh man, I'm 39. I'm never going to find anyone again. I started to realize that I'm an attractive guy. Not the most attractive. I'm not full of myself, but I know who I am. I realized all these women are coming up to me now. When I was married, this stuff was all around me when I was married, and I never saw it because I had such a low opinion of myself, because I went by what my wife at the time thought. She wasn't attracted to me. She didn't want to be around me that way and romantic. So I just figured it's just who I am. And boy, as soon as I got divorced, then I had another problem because I'm in a band now and I'm playing all the time. And we played big shows. That was a big band I was in. We played sometimes as many as 4 or 5 times a week in the summer in front of hundreds, usually probably 1,500 was the average. And there's a lot of women. And I'm on a stage and I'm working out, looking my best, feeling good. I'm past all the turmoil. So trust me, the new problem was don't make another dumb mistake. So, kids, what I'm saying is don't put your mind on these definitive, you know, black and white ideals in life like, oh, if she doesn't love me, no one does. There is a huge world out there. And there's probably 1,000 people at least for each of us that are good matches. I know I'm saying that throughout the world. And there's always those few that are, when you can find that connection with one of those that's magical, then that's when you make the move. And there's no guarantees. I mean, anything can go sideways at some point. There's no guarantees. But if you have your own shit together and you don't depend on anyone else for your happiness, you're invincible and you're unstoppable. And that's what I wanted to get across today. If you're in that relationship and you're just feeling, that goes for friends too. If you're hanging out with guys that are doing these things you don't want to do anymore, I haven't drank in 2 years. So I don't see a lot of these people anymore. I don't go out and hang in the bar and just drink. So I sit home and practice. I work out more. I go on more walks. And I've really been getting into this YouTube. I recommend doing this for anybody. It's really good therapy. So you got to change your surroundings and you got to trim the fat. And then you'll start to see the results. I'm telling you, trust me. Pacemaker Jay wouldn't steer you wrong. All right. So I hope that helped. I will be back for more nonsense. We got Hogan next to me. Bruno Sammartino in the house. All right. So we'll see you next time. Be good and make the move. Trim the fat. Do it.